Okay, so we had some issues with my internet connection. We were discussing the cricket side of things um, before my internet decided to completely crash out, which was absolutely frustrating. Really was. Um, and we were discussing. Yeah, apologies for the live stream. My internet decided to completely go haywire for 5 minutes, and that was absolutely frustrating. But yes, so we were discussing the issues with English cricket and who should be captain. The issue we have is there's not a lot of options after Joe Root. I think possibly Stuart Broad as a short term stopgap um, could be a solution. And if Sam Curran gets fit, possibly having him as a young up and coming player, he's shown a lot of talent um, in his short career. Um, however, again, injured. So yeah, we don't have a lot of options in a captaincy kind of shortlist. That is a massive worry. But yes, so we were discussing some of the issues that the English cricket are facing, but there's bigger issues than the team misfiring and the coaching setup. I think this goes right to the top of the ECB, and that is a concern with how things are going. I think there's massive structural changes required at the ECB, and that for me needs to happen. Whether there's a willingness to do that is another question. Um, in regards to reforming and restructuring the game, that's another question for another day. I don't think there's the willingness um, from cricket itself to reform itself and restructure itself. I think there's a lot of structural issues, not just in the ECB, but yeah. Yeah, Prince Andrew. Let's avoid talking about politics and issues like Prince Andrew. But yes, that's a question um, for the other channel, and I think he's had it. He's cooked. Apologies, yeah, for the stream crashing. I had some internet issue. I had to completely start the stream again. For some reason, it couldn't reconnect, even though I had full connection on my internet. But yes, I do think not necessarily pick a team for a year, but have more consistency with selection. I used to say this about the French rugby union team. They kept chopping and changing the lineup, and they could not get consistent results. Notice the French rugby union lineup for the national side is settled. They're winning games. Yes, Dan, go ahead with your question. Absolutely, go ahead with your question. But yes, apologies for the stream crashing. I had to basically start it again and do a part two. It's really frustrating. I thought we had a good stream going, and then I had some connection issues. Don't know why. I think my neighbours put their oven on or something, or some of their appliances, and it affects the wireless internet I have. But yes, carry on with your question, Dan. I'll be really interested to see what you've got to ask. But yeah, my idea, I would say just a bit more consistency in selection. Give a bit of player some time to find his feet because a lot of the opening batsmen we have are very, very young, and they need to get a run to get some confidence. And if there are technical issues with them, better coaching. A lot of this lies down with coaching and making sure that when they are struggling a little bit, just give them that little bit of confidence to say, no, we're not going to drop you. Persist, work on your technique and we'll get through this. You need to have a coach who's a little bit more in regards to batting technique or bowling technique or fielding, just to get more encouragement. Say, don't give up, don't get downhearted. We need to. This is where you're good. This is where you're bad. Let's work on these weaknesses to turn those weaknesses around into strengths. And then you just need. It's just basics. Basics. But yeah, I mean, I think the England setup, whether it's an England Lions or not, or just more consistent selection, less chopping and changing. Obviously, if a player is injured or suspended, you can't obviously select them. But especially with the opening batting lineup, just give them a run in the team. But like a couple of test series, like 3 test series or something. Give them a run in the team. That builds some confidence. And then if they have got weaknesses, then you can address them by having a long run, and then you can say, okay, you work better against spin bowling, or you work better against a left-handed bowler. We'll try and you know defend against the right-handed bowlers and attack the left-handed bowlers. Or if you're weakness against the left hand, try and defend and then go after the right-handed bowler, for example. So, or if there's clearly a lot of left-handed bowlers and that's a weakness, okay, that's a test match we're going to drop you for example. Rotate you a little bit, but keep you around the squad rather than just drop you completely and then not recall you. There needs to be a better way of dealing with England's chopping and changing, especially the batting lineup. Um, um, Mental health side of thing, what I find interesting is I've done videos on addiction and mental health and professional sports, and it needs to do more and more support. There was a young ex-Man City academy player who took his own life not that long ago after an injury, and he wasn't. He was promised that he would be, given a contract, supported, rehabilitated, and they sort of failed him. So yeah, absolutely. Better, also better education as well, especially the professional athlete side of things. Um, when you're in an academy, uh, if it's not going to work out as a player, maybe a coaching qualification or an administrative qualification or maybe a media role within sport, and definitely better education opportunities and better training opportunities if you're not going to make it post or also post career as well, because some of them have a short run in professional sport and it doesn't work out at the top level. Definitely more training opportunities. Absolutely, I do think it's becoming more of a talking point, but professional sport needs to do more. Definitely needs to do more. It's the same for ex-military personnel. I think my dad and my uncle were very, very lucky in the fact that they were specialists in the army. My dad was an explosives engineering expert. And my uncle was a specialist mechanic, um, electrical mechanic. So my uncle was a REME, which is a Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineer, and my dad was a Royal Engineer. So they're specialist regiments within the British Army. So they were very, very lucky in the fact they got into civvy life and they adjusted better to civilian life from the military. But when you're in a regimented from a very young age, that's all you know. You're in an academy. It's all sport, 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 and then you have that career-ending injury in your early 20s or late teens. Yes, it can be very, very difficult to adjust, especially when you've gone from being like an up-and-coming superstar. You know, you're given a lot of money, and then you've got to try and readjust to non-sporting life outs. It is difficult, and I don't think enough is given to the mentals. I think sports starting to realise now with sports psychologists and training programs and education programs. I think sport is starting to realise now that they need to take better care of their athletes, um, but it's got a long way to go. A long way to go. But yeah, I think some of like Marcus Rashford. In the game I watched against Aston Villa, there's something very off with Marcus Rashford. Now, obviously, away from the field, he's got a lot of charity work. He's done a lot in his community, which is great. I do believe that Marcus Rashford will have a role in public service post playing. I think he will definitely have some kind of charitable ambassadorial role with Manchester United if he decides to spend his whole career there, or he will definitely go into public service, into politics, or working for a charity or a company that deals with young people. I definitely think he's definitely got a role in public service post playing. I think he's definitely got one of them. I think um, other players have got you know yeah, youth development roles within the game, be it through the FA or things like that. Absolutely, but I do think more emphasis needs to be put on post playing career if you're not going to stay within the sport in retraining. I know in rugby league in Australia, there's a lot of emphasis when you are a young player in the reserve grades and youth grades of having a trade and having a job. Nico Hines, who's now at the Cronulla Sharks, formerly of Melbourne Storm, was a school teacher. when he was a semi-pro. So he's worked as a PE teacher. There was, I forget the, yeah, Paul Gascoigne. He's bipolar. He's admitted he's been diagnosed as bipolar. He's had addiction issues. Definitely had a lot of struggles that now we know about, but at the time when mental health diagnosis has come a long way and addiction support's come a long way. Frank Bruno did obviously have a TV career after boxing, but he's had his mental health battles as well. He's been very, very open and candid about them. But yeah, Frank Bruno did have a career post boxing. He was in the media as a TV presenter, and but Paul Gascoigne is definitely one who's failed post playing, struggled massively. He was struggling massively when he was playing. So same with George Best. Jimmy Greaves had a TV career after playing, but he did struggle with alcoholism. And it was a less well-known battle that he had, but Greavesy and Sainty in the 80s and early 90s, he had a very good run on TV, but he did struggle away from the camera and away from the game with a drink problem. Not as well known as George Best or Paul Gascoigne, but it was known within footballing circles. And then when he admitted to his alcoholism and his battle, same with Tony Adams. And Tony Adams now runs his addiction centre, and is deeply concerned. His mental health wellbeing centre. He's deeply concerned with the amount of athletes and general civilians, general average people who come to his addiction and mental health centre service. He's very, very worried about the amount of athletes, especially in horse racing, ironically, with issues with recreational drug use. Cocaine is a massive problem within horse racing. And Tony Adams, I've seen interviews where he's and documentaries about his and TV programs about his addiction and mental health foundation that he set up. And it's actually, you pay to go there, so it's not completely free. There is some charitable side to it, and his outreach centre, but he's been very, very open about what his foundation's about, his centre's about, his addiction centre's about, and the support they give. And sports teams will pay to send their athletes there for mental health well-being. And if there is a player or an athlete within an organisation that's got maybe an addiction to painkillers, they will pay to send them there so it can fund itself. It doesn't have to rely on donations, but it's worrying. He's saying the amount that he set up for football players and working with the FA, and he's like, I'm getting rugby union, rugby league, ice hockey, international athletes from overseas going there. He's very, very worried. What stadium have I visited that you went in with low expectations, but it ended up wowing me? I've been to a lot. Now, obviously, I've seen, Twickenham and Anfield on TV. In fact, I've seen most stadiums on TV because I'm a massive sports fan. But I would say, for me, as a 6-year-old, 7-year, was it my 6th or 7th birthday? I think it was my 7th birthday, so in 1996. I went up for my birthday with my sister and my granddad to Anfield. And obviously I'm a little kid, but I was amazed by the size of the stadium. And it was smaller then than it is now. They were rebuilding the away end. They were extending the away end. And that stunned me. Twickenham, when I last went there, it wasn't a completely enclosed stadium. The South Stand was still a separate stand. When I first went there, and I've been to Twickenham several times before it was fully the enclosed round stadium. That amazed me, and you can see it from the railway. You can also see the Stoop, which is Harlequin's ground, from the railway. I think the one that I went with low expectations was Fratton Park as a stadium, but the atmosphere there is brilliant. The Pompey faithful, the Portsmouth fan base is insane. Got Mr. Pompey with his bell and all that, his cowbell. I went with low expectations to Fratton Park, and that's with the old uneven playing surface, which had the rise in the middle, and it had the middle of the pitch was higher than the sides. I went with low expectations to Fratton, but that is an old school stadium, and they've done a lot of improvements to Fratton. QPR Loftus Road, one of the smallest stadiums in London, in the top two divisions of English football. Again, went there with low expectations, and I loved my trips to Loftus Road. Brentford's old stadium, which has now been demolished, Griffin Park, again went there with low expectations. I enjoyed the atmosphere, but obviously it was an older stadium. It needed completely rebuilding. It needed redevelopment at the time. But I went there again, low expectations, and I wasn't disappointed. I got what I expected from a lower league ground at the time for Brentford. I thoroughly enjoyed it though. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Lords cricket ground. The expectations I had with Lords was it wasn't packed for the Test match I went to, which was Jimmy Anderson's first Test for England, his first Test wickets for England as well. I saw that third day of the first Test against Zimbabwe in 2003. I didn't enjoy Lords as much as other stadiums I've been to. I will admit. I will admit that. In saying that, I knew what to expect with Lords because in that cricket I watched in the years prior on live TV, I knew how big it was. I knew what to expect going there. Loftus Road is a very tight stadium. Loftus Road, it's very intimate. You're very close to the pitch if you're in the front couple of rows. In fact, if you're in the front row of the stadium, you're actually below pitch level. Your upper torso is at pitch level, so you really get to see the game at literally ground zero. You're very, very. If you're on the coaches side, the benches, you're literally, if you're in the front row and you're near you can almost touch the dugouts. It's a very intimate, close stadium, which helps with the atmosphere. It's not the best stadium, but it's a very intimate stadium. The atmosphere is loud there for an 18,000. I think it's about 18,000 capacity. It feels like you've got 30, 40,000 at Loftus. Vicarage Road, when I used to go there, it was still being partly redeveloped. There was issues with the old main stand having the old terracing, and therefore it wasn't fully sold out. There was a lot of stadium that was fenced off. So that underwhelmed me a little bit. But now, if I was to go to Vicarage Road now, I would definitely enjoy the occasion. It's just a complete stadium now. But I was mildly disappointed with the Badesky when I went there. I've been to the Badesky a few times. I'm mildly disappointed. I've never seen it fully sold out, which is shocking. There's always empty seats I've seen. Normally with the away end, the away allocation, but didn't enjoy the atmosphere as much. And I don't get me wrong, I've been to a lot of Reading games. I've thoroughly enjoyed my days out there. It's one of the ones that I've enjoyed less. St Mary's, I think it's getting to the ground is a bit tricky. You've got to walk a fair distance from where you park the car. If you drive there, and if you get the train there, the walkway to the stadium. You go through a very narrow, fenced alleyway by the railway lines. That's not a pleasant way to get to the stadium, and then you go through the old terraces. I'm not sure how the local residents feel on match day at St Mary's if with 25,000 to 30,000. It's a packed house stadium, going by. I'm not sure how they feel about. But there are some stadiums I think. It does. Yes, the new Plough Lane does look very nice. It's great that Wimbledon have gone back there. It's been too long. But the issues they had, the old AFC Wimbledon had before they came in played ons were well known with the issues where they couldn't play at Plough Lane, then playing I think at Selhurst Park for a while. They played all over the place. They had struggles with stadium issues, but it's nice that they're back at Plough Lane and it's been fully developed. It's beautiful, and for the level they play, it's a good solid stadium with room for expansion. Well, look, I've been to Premier League games, FA Cup games, Championship, League One games. So I've been to Cup and League games in the top three levels of English football. and I've seen Blackburn play several times, which is kind of nice. Even if I wasn't in the away end, I was with the home fans, which made celebrating goals a little bit, not a good idea. Uh, um, it depends on the weather conditions. If you go to a game in August, it's quite pleasant in this country. If you go to a game in December, it can be a thoroughly miserable affair weather-wise. Um, so it's when you can be a bit cold at some stadiums. You can lose feeling in your legs if you're right up in the top of the stand, as I've been a few times. I St Mary's, I've never been close to the pitch. I've always been quite a ways back in at St Mary's. Medeski the same, never been in the bottom tier, always been in the higher corners, which is not overly pleasant. Loftus Road, I've always been close to the pitch, which is quite lucky with Loftus. Craven Cottage, I've been lucky as well at Craven Cottage, being, not right up at the top, sort of in the mid top tier. Twickenham, it's been a mixed bag. I've been right in the top corner of the north stand, so really far away from the action, but you get a good view of a rugby defence. So if you want to learn the positions and learn the defensive systems of a team and their set plays and attacking systems, that's great to watch from a height. In regards to the double headers I used to go to, I was in the main east and west stands, and it's a bit different. And that's normally in August, September, so the weather's normally nice. It's a difficult one. It depends on the time of year. If you're going in spring, you can get changeable conditions. If you're going at the beginning of the football season and the rugby union season, it's in August, September, so the weather's generally nice, generally pleasant, generally Celsius mid-20s to low 30s if you're going in one of the early August games for the Football League season. If you go to an FA Cup game, the first round kicks off in December, so first round proper. So no, I don't wear glasses. I don't require glasses. I need to get my eyes tested, but I don't need glasses, so I'm lucky. But I'm an ice hockey fan, so I'm following a puck about that big when you're up quite high. I've got collections of pucks. Actually, I've got to find my hockey puck collection. We've got about 5 or 6 of them. But I would say an arena or a stadium that let me down a little bit, I would say, would be. I knew Basingstoke's ice rink was falling down, but the Link Centre in Swindon. I've got a lot of. Chester, I know you're from Swindon, but Link Centre, I was a little bit disappointed with where the away fans sit downstairs. Like, I think some of them sit upstairs. I think they can sit upstairs now, depending on allocation, how many fans are going. I was a little bit disappointed with the Link Centre in Swindon. Nice that you got all those shops and facilities around it, so it's an all-encompassing, centre. But the rink itself, much like the Guildford Spectrum, which is a multi-use facility as well. You never been? That's mad. You should go. You should watch a game. Watch a Swindon Wildcats are a good side for what the level, which is the second tier level of Iceland. They're a good side. They've got some good young players and some good senior players, and they've been a consistent team for 30 years at their level. They have been always good. They never at the bottom of the league. They're always middle to top. They're a very consistent, hard-working team that have good pathways to get to the elite league and then on to the bigger European leagues, hopefully North American leagues. But yeah, there are some. I mean, obviously, I miss the old Bracknell ice rink, and I go past it daily with work, and I see it boarded up in it, and it brings a tear to my eye thinking that that could have been saved. But it's got so you can go and watch some ice hockey and then grab a Mackie D's as well. So it's a win-win. And so it's old though. It's 30 years old. It needs a bit of a reface, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It just underwhelmed me a little bit. I think there are ways they could improve some of the seating and some of the issues they have there. They're little things, not massive. But the Swindon fans were brilliant. You know, it was a good pre-season game I went to. It just could be a little bit, a bit more enjoyable. I think some of the viewing angles aren't great downstairs, but again, it's how the interior of the arena is laid out. That's not the Swindon Wildcats' fault. That's the Link Centre who decided to lay it out like that. Stadiums I want to go to, there's quite a few on my list, and none of them are in the US. Yeah, none of them are in the US, um, which is saying something. Uh, yeah, it's a shame, but none of the stadiums I want to go to in the US, not even Soldier Field, not even Fenway Park, none of them are in the US. I want to go to the Azteca in Mexico. A couple of stadiums in Buenos Aires I want to go to, and just to go around and just do the guided tour. Um, I I want to see the new Mestalla in Valencia when it's completed. Um, the new Stadio San Manesh in Bilbao. I didn't get to go to the old one, so I want to go to the new one and see what that's all about because apparently that is a world class facility in Bilbao. Yeah, that's what it looked like inside. Obviously, before it that was in 2017. That's what it looked like inside at the time. Um, yeah, that's the inside of it. There's on my Facebook. There's some photos of the inside from different angles as well. I wish I got more video footage, if I'm honest, of the inside and all that. And, the last scoreboards that were there because they updated the scoreboard eventually. It just took them 6 years. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that long term. There's a half size rink for training, which uh, doesn't benefit the whole community, and you can't play ice hockey on it because it's half size. So we're playing at Slough um, at the moment, which is a shame. Um, we'll see what happens, but there's been rumours that Reading might get um, uh, um, a rink as well near the Badaiski, and they've been around for about 5-10 years. So we'll see what happens in the local area. But if one gets built near the Badaiski, that's actually ironically not too hard for me to get to. So we'll see what happens with potential development in the next 5 years. But at the moment, I there's so many arena issues, not just for ice hockey, but basketball. There's football and rugby clubs struggling with their leases. Um, not all the You'll be surprised how many clubs do not own their stadium, especially in the lower leagues where they're leasing their stadiums from different owners. So that's something to bear in mind. Not all. I mean, it's different in North America because especially with the NBA and NHL. Look at the arena lease issues that teams are having. Um, so yeah, it's definitely arena issues and stadium issues are nothing new for professional sport. Nothing new. They've been around for a while. Um, AFC Wimbledon being a prime example um, of um, Plough Lane not being able to play at their stadium, having to play. I think it was Sellers Park. They had to play out for quite some time, and it obviously affected the club. And eventually, the owner of the club at the time moved the team to Milton Keynes, and then the fans were angry and set up a replacement AFC Wimbledon and had to play through the non-league to get back to the football league. Um, why is my internet playing up so much tonight? It's really annoying. So yeah, my connection's a bit unstable, so this might be the end of the stream coming up if it doesn't start working properly soon. If there are any connection issues, it's my end. It's been happening for the last hour or so. We'll try our best to soldier on, but it may be end of stream soon. So watch this space. It might be it. Not your sport, but is it? I think yes. I think there are definitely indoor arena issues, which is why basketball struggles. But netball's doing really well. The women's netball league in the UK is doing really, really well. So um, I would say yes, in comparison to mainland Europe, um, where basketball is better supported and has more money. Yes, I do believe there is a significant lack of high quality arenas in this country. The netball league is doing really well. The basketball league, yeah, it's arena availability and quality. There are, basketball and netball facilities, for example, for the indoor sports in this country, but we're more of an outdoors team sport kind of. Yeah, but the netball again, it's an indoor facility. I think the netball courts are smaller than basketball courts. I think they are. I may be wrong on that. I could be wrong on that. I think they could be the same size, but they may be smaller. But for some reason, netball's doing really well, but basketball's struggling. It's better TV deal as well. You just couldn't make it up. Um, so yeah, netball. How was that? Cold? We've got a weather warning for fog, and we're going to have. I think the next 2 to 3 weeks are meant to be quite cold. There's a chance of more snow, but uh, yeah, we've got problems with fog for the next 2 to 3 days. We're expecting a lot of. We've got a weather warning for fog, and yeah, I thought netball was smaller. So if netball's doing really well, they share the same facilities. So if netball can be really successful and get a good TV deal, I'm really struggling to fathom why basketball is struggling for facilities. If they share the same arenas, it, how can netball be a success and basketball not? I you know again that's to do with funding as well from state funding and Olympic funding because we're quite good at netball in the Commonwealth and Olympics, whereas basketball we're not so much. Um, but yeah, it does amaze me that the facilities are there and netball makes better use of them and makes more money. Netball in this country is profitable. That is what's generally terrifying. Netball makes money. COVID notwithstanding, obviously, but netball makes money. But for some reason, basketball struggles. It's one of them. Um, it is generally one of them. So I don't know what basketball does to. I think it is, yeah. I think it's down to governance. They've got a better TV deal. Why is my okay? I'm going to say this now. I'm having connection issues, so we may not be able to go as long as I would like on the stream, but I will battle on as long as I can, and we'll see what happens. It is. I don't know why it's struggling tonight. It just is. I never enjoyed playing basketball, and I don't enjoy watching it. I'm not saying it's a bad sport. You've got to be an athlete. You've got to be supremely fit and a great athlete to play. I've got a lot of respect for basketball players. You've got to be so supremely fit to play it. It is exhausting to play. So your fitness levels, I've got every amount of respect for the amount of training and fitness and gym work you have to do just to before you even get to play. I've got a lot of respect for basketball players. I just do not enjoy the sport. I cannot get into it. Um, that's not to say it's a bad sport. I don't think any sport's a bad sport. It's just not a sport for me. It's not a sport that I enjoy. And there's a lot of basketball fans in the UK, so take nothing away from it. It's just not a sport that I enjoy. Whereas, rugby league, rugby union, ice hockey, football to a certain extent, I'm not enjoying it as much as I used to. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which I've covered on the channel in great depth in every live stream and in a lot of videos. I'm like, this is another, a lot of the issues with football, governance, the amount of money in the game, the distribution of funds, the quality aspects, players misbehaving, the bad press, um, what is TV deals. There's a lot of reasons why I'm falling out of love with football, and there's reasons why I prefer watching the NRL and the NHL and motorsport. It's just because it's a more level playing field, and then the players are paid a lot less, and you can't go in half-hearted and be not try because you get hurt. Yes, yes, there is the cross sport ownership there, which is positive, which massively helps the netball side of things. Um, and also, there's a big university connection as well, which I think helps with player development and growth and fans as well, because you want to support your mates playing, and then you bring your mates along, and it sort of grows itself. Basketball just has that lack of grassroots and a whole host of issues, and grassroots facilities outside of the professional game. It really struggles, and there's definitely a fan and player base here. There's definitely interest in the sport in this country. So, and it's a sport you can play all year round. You're indoors. So yeah, I am a bit surprised with it struggling the way it has, but yeah, as you say, netball is better run. They've got a good TV deal. They've got good sponsorship deals. You know, I personally couldn't name any netball players, but I know people who can. So that's where we're at with the British League. I couldn't name you any British basketball players playing in the British League, not a single one. And that basically sums up the state of the sport. Is I don't know anyone personally who could name me a British basketball player currently playing in the British Basketball League, whereas I know people who probably could tell me a netball player, or a friend of a friend could probably tell me netball players. So there's your difference. There's a difference. I can name a fair few British ice hockey players playing in the national side. I've seen a fair few of them play. So again, there's the difference. You know, it's so there's so there's definitely a way they could definitely have better media reach. Oh, did you mention Love Island? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have brain rot. I'm sorry, just don't mention Love Island. Not after Molly May's comments. Oh, they're outdoor. Yes, yes, yes. There are outdoor basketball, um, basketball hoops and courts at schools and parks. Yep, that does exist. And with my job being in sanitation and dealing with residential waste, basically rubbish or trash, as you would call it, the amount of houses I do see that have a basketball hoop or a netball, there's quite a few. So kids and young adults are definitely playing the game recreationally in this country. It's yes, yes, yes. I am. Yeah, as in basketball nets. I've seen houses with them attached to the wall and on the garage or in the garden. You would call it the yard, obviously. Um, yes, but I don't watch Love Island, so I therefore don't know who he is. And the fact he went on Love Island just sums up everything right now, and it just sums it up really. Well, yes, definitely young kids and young adults and adults in general are definitely playing the game recreationally in this country, indoors and out. And I've got friends who play it recreationally. My mate Dave does, and he also plays cricket as well, recreationally, and for a local cricket club when he can or did. Um, but as I say, so obviously there's definitely people who enjoy recreationally playing, just having a little play with their little game with their mates, or going down having a little shooting a few hoops. But at the same time, there's recreational play, and then there's organised league structures and pathways, and that's where British basketball is definitely lacking um, in comparison to netball. And again, yes, the school side of it as well. It was a voluntary sport at my schools when I went to school, and so then again the uptake was very very low because the emphasis was on football, cricket, rugby. That was your emphasis. and occasionally field hockey as well, because we had a good field hockey program. Um, so that was your emphasis. If you had a choice where you could play field hockey or football in one of the terms, you had a choice, and then you could choose. And once you had chosen, you stuck with it. And so there was a good emphasis on four team sports. Basketball was not one of them. It was one of the voluntary sports. Um, that, that you chose. And so and you had to choose at the start of the year whether to choose field hockey or football. Um, you had to choose at the start of the year and try out. But there you go. Yes, it is. There's not a lot of opportunity. The money isn't great. That's another sticking point. Whereas a lot of overseas netball players want to play here because the money is better. That's the difference. Is a lot of overseas players play netball here, or Australia. That's the difference. And Jamaica as well has a very good netball program and a lot of good players. So that's the difference. Is the netball league is attracting overseas players, so Jamaicans, Australians, Canadians, whereas the basketball players they've got to go to Europe, and if they pray they make it to the NBA. One or two have, but not many, and that's the difference. That's the massive difference there. Um, but yes, it is very very difficult to get be a professional basketball player. The money isn't there, and yeah, your best chance is to try and get scouted and play in Europe to earn a decent living. Um, and that is a massive problem, and that's what's holding the sport back. Personally, that's what's holding the sport back a little bit in this country. Is there's no good pathway to earn good money, whereas netball, overseas players want to come here. They want to get involved. It's got better backing from better ownership, more money, better TV deals, better run, better coaching, better pathways, earn good money, good sponsorship deals. Completely different. They share the same facilities. It's a no-brainer that basketball should work at a decent level when it doesn't. And the thing is, I've seen professional netball on the TV in a pub, in a sports bar. I've seen in British Netball League in a sports bar in this country on the TV, and people were watching. It was on. People were watching, and the arena was packed. 5, 10,000 people watching. You know, in the arena. So therefore, netball has been working for many many years, whereas basketball just doesn't work in this country for whatever reason. And you could say, yeah, the government, the people running the sport aren't doing it very well, and they're not negotiating the best TV or media rights deals and best, uh, journalistic coverage in the media. The Olympic funding's dried up. All that emphasis on the Olympic legacy, it's not there. And there's your answer. Funding cuts, and people governing the game. Yeah, the copper box always does, and it's an amazing arena, and you know it tells you what you need to know. Not that I'm a netball fan, because again, it's one of those sports very similar to basketball. I just can't get into it, but I've had friends play it. Um, I've had friends at university play it, and so therefore, obviously, the university program is strong. The professional game is healthy, and the national side is successful. So success breeds growth. Um, but yeah, the copper box is a brilliant, arena designed for both netball and basketball. And the basketball side of things, it just doesn't sell out. When the NBA players come here, they don't play at the copper box; they play at the O2 down the road. And so therefore, the facility isn't being used for what it was designed for, and that is a massive problem. And yes, the NBA does come here, and the attendances are good, and it shows that there's basketball fans and NBA fans in this country, and a lot of them. It's just translating that into wanting to play the game and grow the game and make the game better financially and improve the standard. It's just not happening, and that is a massive, massive problem. It's it should work. There's enough fans of the game and enough people playing recreationally that you should be able to have a player base. It's translating it into a successful, financially viable league where a player can earn good money and you can attract overseas talent at a decent level to play. And it's just not happening. Whereas netball is happening. So I don't understand the divergence in the last 15, 20 years. I really don't. With everything. But you know, well, you say that, but those who play in the British Basketball League do take it seriously, and obviously there is a fan base here for basketball. There are kids who do play it. It's getting those pathways in place, getting the grassroots in place, and making the game more financially viable. But unfortunately, for for multiple reasons, it's just not happening, and that is a massive, massive problem. And how you solve that problem, I have no idea. I don't know how you solve the issues to make it more successful. I there are certain things you can do to make it better, and attract that overseas talent, but it will be lower grade overseas talent than what the netball's attracting. And that is something else that needs to be looked into to make it go fully professional, make the teams more financially viable, and improve the footprint it has. But it's when it's competing against union football, ice hockey, better established, better run sports, better TV and media deals, better average attendances, even at lower levels, and it struggles. Whereas netball doesn't. Netball has great attendances, good cash flows, good sponsorship deals, and it's just really boggles my mind why basketball struggles, because it does have the potential to be a solid, not I wouldn't say minority sport, but a solid secondary sport in this country, and it could make money and be decent, but powers that be just is not taking that next step. It's not growing as well as it should, and that is frustrating. As a sports fan, I want to see as many successful leagues, but then it's got to compete for the corporate money, the fans' money, in a very congested sports market in this country, where there's a finite amount of fans in this country, there's a finite amount of facilities in this country, and there's a finite amount of money in this country, and every community it's got to compete against the established sports, be it rugby union, rugby league, football, cricket, ice hockey, motorsport as well. You know, sports fans, it's just such a congested sports market. There's only so much you can cram in. And then you've got the overseas leagues who bring games on the road here. It's just, yeah, it is amazing. But, again, it comes down to TV deals, sponsorship, fan base, match going fans who are willing to spend their money. And it's just not viable. No, there's not enough cash in the sport, and there's not enough, investment. Um, where yeah, ice hockey. While ice hockey has its problems in this country, it's fast growing sport. It's one of the fastest growing sports in the country. Um, the growth has been massive in the last 10 to 15 years in this country, with the establishment of the elite league, the stabilisation of the elite league, and the growth of new teams being set up. More kids wanting to play. I wouldn't say basketball fans have no money, because they're willing to watch the NBA when it comes over here and spend massive amounts of money to watch one or two NBA games. So I wouldn't say basketball fans have no money. I just it's not. It's just. Yeah, I don't. There are other sports that are far better established. Football obviously dominates. Rugby union is a second place. Ice hockey, rugby league's got problems, but ice hockey's nationwide, a national UK league, at the elite league level, encompassing all four, of the home nations. Um, so it's got to compete against established league structures that have TV deals in place, streaming deals in place, media deals in place, sponsorship deals, established fan bases, established structures, youth system pathways where you start off being developed from very young ages, going through the youth systems, through academies, it success at the national level, success at the international level. So we've got football, we've got to the Euros final and a World Cup semi-final in the last 3 years. Rugby union, we've won it in my lifetime. Got to another rugby union World Cup. We've got a rugby league World Cup final at the last World Cup, semi-final before that. Ice hockey were in the top division of the World Championships, and they're improving year on year. And we get players drafted into the NHL, and players been scouted for NHL drafting. We're about to host a rugby league World Cup. The under-20s had a good ice hockey tournament. Won some games, finished third in their group. So there's your established sports, and there's international success or international growth for the international players, the international team. You've got youth pathways. There's great emphasis on community outreach, where schools get reduced ticket prices or free tickets to come to games, and then they want to come back with their families and their friends. You've got rugby league. We've got some of the best players playing in the NRL, which is the best rugby league in the world. Rugby union, we've been to 3 World Cup finals. We've hosted 2 World Cups. So football, we've been, in my lifetime, we've been to 3 semi-finals and a final in the Euros and the World Cup. So that's where basketball's got to compete. And we've got the wealthiest football league in the world. We've got the second wealthiest rugby union league in the world. We've got the second wealthiest rugby league in the world. Yes, that's a mouthful. Ice hockey, we've got the 10th best top flight league in the world, or 10th best league in the world. That includes the AHL in there and the ECHL. So we're playing at AHL, ECHL stand week in, week out at the professional game. Right? And we've got overseas ex-NHL talent playing in the Elite League. And ex-AHL and NHL players. So that's a pretty high standard. We've got ex-SHL players and German league players and Swiss league players playing in the Elite League. We've got ex-NHL draft picks playing in the National League structure. Yes, there are ex-draft picks playing in British ice hockey. NBA? Are any ex-NBA players playing in the National British Basketball League? No, they're not. So there's your difference. Overseas talent, doesn't matter what level, professionals are playing in English football, British football, shall I say, rugby union, even at lower levels. Overseas players are coming. Rugby league, we've got ex-NRL players playing, big games in the Super League and Championship. The Elite League and National League, we've got overseas talent willing to take a pay cut but play over here to continue their careers and develop their careers. So it just that that just sums up what the struggles basketball has. Netball attracting overseas talent from like Australia, Jamaica, Canada, the US, big netballing nations, Europe playing it. So yeah, there is definitely space for it, but this question comes up regularly, and it still is struggling to get that footprint. And the facilities are there. because netball uses them to great effectiveness and has good attendances and is making money. So it tells you all you need to know. That tells you all you need to know. The other team sports are better. Even field hockey, we've got a good national setup, good Olympic program, good Commonwealth program. Um, you know, good local clubs, solid local clubs with solid foundations that feed into the bigger clubs. You know, it's got to compete against these things. And then you've got the individual sports like tennis, where we've got Grand Slam champions, be it in the doubles or singles in the men and women's game in the last 10 years. In Andy Murray and Raducanu and Jamie Murray, Olympic medalists. You know, it's it. So tennis, which you can play indoor as well. You know, it's badminton, an indoor sport. We've had Olympic and Commonwealth success. Swimming as an Olympic, Commonwealth, and World Championship success, and world record holders as well. Cycling, be it road racing or velodrome, again, great cycling program, and a lot of fans who will watch the Tour of Britain, the crowd numbers, on the side of the roads, the success we've had with British cyclists winning the Tour de France, winning individual stages in the Tour de France, green jersey, Vuelta, Giro. It's just there doesn't appear to be that next step to grow the sport. And these are and cycling and badminton and tennis, lower participation levels. But we've got high level. We've got Dan Evans, Norrie, the Murray brothers, Raducanu. I mean, Joanna Conter's just retired because of injury, but we've got high level professionals. Heather Watson, high level professionals in tennis, doing well. Oh God, if esports becomes an Olympic sport, I will stop watching the Olympics altogether. I'll just quit it life. I will quit it life if that's the thing. That's ridiculous. We've got professional skiers, snowboarders. The bobsleigh program is brilliant. The skeleton bob and the luge. We have professional athletes who are competing on the world championship program in downhill skiing and skiing events, the snowboarding events, the ski cross, the snowboard cross, the snowboard half pipe, and they're professional, and they make and it's Eastbourne, Queens. You've got the ATP Masters that normally takes place in London at the end of the season. All that. It's got to compete against all this, and so it's got a lot of that's a big enough hurdle. It is in itself. Is getting the talent to want to decide. Okay, I don't want to be a tennis player. I don't want to be a cricketer. I don't want to be this. I want to choose basketball. Whereas all those other sports have better pay, better sponsorships, better training facilities, better, just then you've got motorsport on top of that, be it motocross, rallying, touring cars, GT, F1, all those pathways. It's really up against it, and it is what it is. Like, and not everyone becomes a racing driver or a motorcycle racer, by the way, but really up against it. No. There's not many British parents go, oh, my son's a professional basketball player, or my son's a professional rugby player, ice hockey player, tennis champion. Yeah, it's definitely expanding it. You could definitely expand the media footprint of the sport. And again, that's down to the media providers. That's down to the local newspapers. That's down to radio stations. That's down to internet streaming sites like YouTube, for example. They could definitely put it on YouTube, and it will get viewers. It will. You know, even TV highlights and news bulletins. It doesn't even make the headlines on the national kind of thing. And even British ice hockey could do better on when it came to national media coverage, apart from Premier Sports and Free Sports. But you know, it's definitely up against it. Definitely up against it for a whole host of economic reasons, and already the other sports are better established and have had more individual athlete success and team success. And yeah, it just sums up the hurdles it's facing and the issues that the sport is facing. Um, and it's going to be a battle to overcome them. Yeah, I mean, um, you know, the more established team sports, you know, are entrenched now, and it's going to be very hard to break into, the 5 or 6 team sports that are ahead of it, with participation and fandom, and organisation. So yeah, football, rugby league, rugby union, cricket, ice hockey, field hockey. It's gonna you have to break through that, and I don't think they're gonna do that because all those other sports have really good. Even field hockey, which doesn't have a great TV deal, the World Championships are still broadcast on international broadcasters. The Olympics program, the viewership figures are always really good. The Commonwealths get really good viewership figures. Um, More news articles are written about field hockey, better pathways, university programs, school program. It's not breaking through that wall and breaking it down and then taking the next step. Where those other sports have had their rough patches and have got through them and are fully professional at the top end. And there are pathways where if you are in the system, you can make it, and you're more likely to make. In some of the sports, you're more likely to make it as a professional because there's less teams and they need the player base. And so, yeah, I don't know where basketball goes from here. I wouldn't say there's a maximum number because you've got the individual professional sports like boxing and MMA and you know s- tennis and snooker and darts where you know uh, and things like that. So the individual professional sports like motor racing where it, it, again it is one of them. So you've got the team sports and you've got the individualistic sports that are professional, and it's just not breaking up the rankings of participation, viewership, fandom, match going experience. It's just not doing it. So it is what it is. So it's definitely it's got a tough battle. But if it's better run, a maximum number of professional sports leagues. Um, well, let's have a think. What is professional sports leagues in the country? So taking away things like snooker and tennis and cycling and other bits and pieces. You've got the English Football League, or the Football League structure, so Scotland, England, the League of Ireland. So professional football, you've got league structures, professional. Rugby union, rugby league, ice hockey, cricket. That's 5. That's 5 professional leagues already. Netball, that's 6. And then you've got those sports that are semi-pro, so field hockey, that's 7. Um, Even curling Scotland and then Northern England. There's a league structure for curling so that's 8. Um, it's getting tough now. Actually, I've come up with 8 sports where there's league structures, be it semi-pro or professional. Baseball, nah, that's a very niche sport. Baseball, very very niche. I know people who play it, and I know Rob knows people who play it as well. So that is a bit more niche. But we've got friends who play baseball. Yes, with league structures. Yes, yes. Again, not professional in this country, but there's North American football's played in this country. Um, roller hockey, there's a league structure there. Oh God, we're getting to double figures now. Lacrosse, I forgot about lacrosse. That is played. There is an amateur lacrosse league in this country. I am trying to think. I am starting to run out of professional leagues now, actually. Amazingly, and semi-pro leagues and amateur leagues, but there are league structures for a whole host of sports. Yeah, the curling, but there is actually a curling league as well. Indoor bowls, yes. Um, croquet, ironically, has competitions. Yeah, snooker and darts and pool. Uh, there's a professional circuit in them, with the you know PDO and BDO darts and all that. I've got a friend who's in the, yeah. There's all sorts. Um, well, go karting comes under motorsport, so and there's professional and professional structures in place with motocross, British superbikes, and then the support series, British touring cars, and the support series, the GT series, Formula 4, um, rallying. There's a British Rally Championship. Um, you got motocross, as I say. Got rallycross, British rallycross. You've got the truck driving series. Yes, yes, truck racing. Um, you've got oh God, there's various motorsport championships, single mark makes. So like you've got Caterham. I've got Mini. I've got the Winter Challenge as well as the support series for touring cars. There's the Fiesta Championship. Yes, Ford Fiestas getting driven around like lunatics, especially the older ones. There's all sorts, and it just doesn't get. And bearing in mind there is media coverage of these championships as well. Yeah, that I've seen. So yeah, it is struggling to get that impact. And no, yep, yep. Definitely boxing and MMA are professional. You've got professional boxers and kickboxers and speedway. Yep, I forgot about speedway. I actually forgot that's professional speedway. I forgot about that. Professional speedway. Yep. Um, I haven't even mentioned horse racing yet. Um, so we're yeah. Look how many professional and semi-professional sports there are. We're nearing 20 at this point. That's what basketball, netball. That's what basketball's got to compete against. I don't know why we're talking about basketball, but yeah, dog. I wouldn't go dog racing so much. That's different. Um, it is. It's different. It's a pastime, I think. But I know some dog trainers who have dogs on the dog racing circuit and the greyhounds. Um, but yeah, so just look at it. Just have a think about that. How many professional and semi-professional might need another job to support your sport? But yeah, that's what you've got to compete against. And yeah, that's that's where basketball's at as a semi-pro sport. It's got all that to compete against. Then you've got swimming, you know, and then you've got sorry. Yeah, I know some professional dog racing trainers as well. So yeah, but there you go. You've got so many sports. I haven't even named them all. There's so many sports. It's you've got shooting, professional shooting, professional archery. Um, oh God, yeah, it's just yeah, it's going to struggle. And a lot of those sports that I've mentioned are either on the Olympic program or they do have media coverage with better media coverage, and it's an uphill struggle because there is a limited amount of finite money available to pump into sport, and so it is. Anyway, I'm going to call that a stream because it's 9 o'clock and I've got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to call that an end. I will catch you guys when I can, and hopefully my internet is less temperamental tomorrow and in the days following. But thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. That's sports entertainment, professional wrestling. Just going to put it out there. Professional wrestling is sports entertainment because the result is predetermined. But yeah, thank you very much for all your comments and questions. I apologise about the first stream basically crashing out and this stream struggling with the connection. It has been a bit of a pain in the arse to see. But thank you very much for all your questions. And I'll obviously have some more videos for you very, very soon.